and try to set her up. And then she's running through, you know, like Colorado and the ice. And they drive up to a checkpoint. She says, "What's this?" And the guy says, "Oh, just a routine checkpoint." I mean, folks, that is there in every movie. How creepy in America we have collaborators in the media implanting messages to acclimate everyone to checkpoints everywhere. And in all these movies, they're showing the government searching houses without warrants. And the CIA director comes out and says, "We're spying on you without warrants." That's illegal on two fronts. Spying without a warrant's illegal, and the CIA domestically is illegal. But again, they're throwing it in our face. Why do you think that is, Gerald?
They're just trying to show us that they're the dominant animal and that we are the submissives and we need to accept our place.
And again, I could see being a coward and rolling over and working with the system if it was just boss hog corrupt. It's not. These are eugenicists who are spiking the food and water, and I've published, republished, and linked to the Rockefeller, the White House science czar, all of them. They're doing it. You can't make a deal with them. If I hear one more person call me and say, "You have such courage, we admire you." No, I don't. No, I do not. This is self-preservation, folks. You don't make a deal with these people. It's a slow, soft kill. All we can do is all in. And before, look, if they're talking about gagging and torturing people to keep them quiet in the re-education centers, let's fight them in the larger re-education camp that is America and fight them with asymmetrical info war at the grassroots level everywhere. And let's advertise local groups to start businesses or work together to hire veterans. You know, let's do things like that, because what they do is what happens, sir, is they psychologically tested you when you're in the military, undoubtedly. They have a file on what decisions you made. They've got algorithms on what you do. They have a file. Vets that are awake are the ultimate enemy. Vets that are Dudley do-right, will do whatever they're told, are recruited into policing. But a lot of those actually wake up later. The globalists have a big problem. They're able to loot the country of $27+ trillion in the last few years. They're able to gut things, shut down the industry. They're in control of that, but they're not in control right at the local level. You understand? They still haven't made everybody immoral yet. That's their final problem they've got. We've got to hit them at every level. Anything else?
Yes, I'm a writer as well, and I joined the Army in 1986 so I could research what it's like to be a soldier, so I could create the character that would be, a soldier would pick up the book and read it and say, "This guy's been there." And my publishing website is bluefalconpress.com, and I also want to point out about jobs, getting jobs in America. I have been on so many websites applying for jobs, and you have to go through a psych eval as part of your application. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, and they integrate it, and it's mentally ill to be moral. I appreciate your call. No, we're living in a giant re-education camp. I mean, the system admits that. They've only got it turned up, though, 3 clicks on the stove. It can go all the way up to 12. And they're just turning the heat up, turning the heat up, turning the heat up, turning the heat up. Man, it's bad. Let's go to Jesse in New Orleans, former U.S. Army, to give us his take on this. Go ahead. Hello, Jesse. Okay, Jesse's away from his phone. Thank you, Jesse. Let's go to David, who is Navy, listening on an iPad or iPod. Go ahead, you're on the air.
How you doing, Alex? Great to be on. I'm really fired up. From up there, I can tell you now. The military really appreciate what you're doing for us.
Well, thank you. What's your view on America secretly trying to adopt, the people that have hijacked America, a North Korean model?
I'm disgusted with it, and I can tell you this: it really boggles my mind with what was coming out with Breitbart and the whole underground weather group and how they were. This was their plan. This was their plan. And
that's what Breitbart was going to come out with, was Obama at meetings talking about re-education. He dies, and they release some flimsy thing a few weeks later, nothing to do with what he said, and now the coroner's dead. I mean, how obvious does this have to get?
Being active duty, there's only... You obviously know that there's some stuff I can't say, but it's mind-blowing. It really is. People really need to start opening their eyes, see what's going on.
What you're saying is what we're talking about is accurate from what you've seen.
it's absolutely accurate. And you know something, there, like you say, the minority makes the difference. It's never the majority, no matter where it is. What I would really like to see is somebody. See, I will go back and I'll do the research on myself, on my own, and see where the links are. But I think for somebody's got to link everything from the Rothschilds and Waterloo all the way up to what we're seeing right now. So the average person that doesn't want to go out and do the research can just see it all in line, how it's...
Yeah, we need to produce like a 10-minute graphical, animated... In fact, I was just thinking about that this weekend and starting the piece out showing a risk set and saying, people play this as children or in college, but there's a real game for world government, and break down how the bankers have done it. And again, it's not just like they want to conquer us and then have a civilization. They want to kill everybody is what's horrible. I mean, once they get their world government in place, God, Katie bar the door.
Exactly.
Well, obviously you can't talk about classified stuff, but now that it's public, have you seen similar manuals to this for re-education camps in America?
Personally have not seen it, but what really, I wonder why no other, like Drudge usually will cover almost anything you have. I wonder why it's not, this is big news. This really should be on every major news network out there. I'm pretty surprised that Drudge hasn't linked it yet.
Well, again, nobody's perfect. We make mistakes sometimes, and something this shocking, even though it is triplicate confirmed with the whole background information, I'll guarantee you Drudge is probably waiting with something like this until so-called mainstream media covers it. And you notice they're not. They didn't cover the NDAA the first few weeks we were running around freaking out. Drudge did cover that. And then they said, no, it's not for citizens. And they went, oh, it is for citizens, but Obama's not going to sign it. I mean, people didn't believe it the first few days when Obama came out and said Congress isn't over war anymore. Drudge did cover that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. God bless you, sir. I appreciate your call. Let's talk to Rudy in Washington, D.C., Marine Corps. What do you make of re-education camps? I mean, North Korea is not so bad. Maybe George Washington would have loved Kim Jong-il, huh?
No, exactly. I think it's unbelievable. And as far as here in D.C., from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything, too close to re-education camps. But we have been doing a lot of riot control training, stuff like that. And I'm just calling for support. I want you to know that I'm trying to get the news out here with the Marines here. I'm trying to get the word out, and I'm a big fan of you. There's a guy named Hal Lindsey. He has a lot of good information, and Ron Paul, huge supporter of Ron Paul.
How many Marines you talk to are somewhat awake?
From not tons, but there are guys like me who are out there spreading the word. And
well, that's good news. Look, to break down how they're going to do this, the economy keeps collapsing. They're basically moving towards the poorhouse model that England had, where they're going to lock up the homeless people. This is already happening, where they won't let you sleep or camp anywhere, but then they lock you up at night in facilities. Then there's crime. So then there's low security prison areas. Then there's areas for political dissidents. That's what this breaks down. The regular military just does riot control, and then during that hysteria, political dissidents get picked up who are blamed for it. They're loaded on the trucks and taken to the facilities. And then it's specialized people. Who do you think the Army and Marine Corps hired to run prison camps? They'd have regular Marines and Army on the outside, but in the inner dungeons, they would hire disgraced federal and state prison guards as contractors, or they would hire them and get them into the military and grease the skids for them. And that's who they hire. That's who they want. So, see, that's how this compartmentalization works.
See, I'm a low-down guy, so, I'm not up there. I'm not too high in the ranks, so, I wouldn't know a ton, but here low down in the enlisted field, I got guys, like I said, I'm getting the word out there. And there are some guys, and, at first they'll start to, they kind of just stay away from it because, I don't know, they have other things on their mind, like, going out, partying, drinking, and stuff like that. But, I kind of feel like it's almost scary to them. So it's so scary they don't want to believe it, and they kind of just distance themselves from it. But when they really start learning about it, and you really start feeding them the information, it starts making sense. They start to, they start getting a little interested. They start listening. And
well, here's the deal.
About
history is scary. And if you look what the founders talked about, they went through all of this as well. They had re-education camps. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. It's, I was just saying that, once it's all about really getting that information to them, they got to read it for themselves is the thing, Well,
that's right, and we've got to counter all this so that as it gets phased in to your level, people have already heard about it, and instead of accepting it, they know it's bad, see? That's why we're holding this thing back. Infowars.com, the listeners of this show, the activists out there, we're doing amazing things together. God bless you. I appreciate your call. Okay, we got Dan, and we've got many, many others that are patiently holding, and I got a bunch of other news, and Katherine Albrecht. I had tried everything. I'd cut back the amount of food. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live here. And you know why the globalists want to use mercenaries. You know why they want to use foreign troops. It's because they are going to have trouble getting our police and military to carry out these activities. That's why the feds are creating all these new bureaucracies to harass and fine and fee people, and they're going into organic food stores with guns drawn. It's all part of implying that the people are bad and the system is good. Think about how many times I told you there was a plan to microchip U.S. military personnel. And now that's in the news today. In fact, guys, I had all those articles yesterday. Will you reprint them and put them in the Katherine Albrecht bio for me ahead of her joining us? Because I may have one for her, but I don't see one here. And I know she was set up last minute, but I probably need to get that. I mean, I know there's all this world news, and I've been spending most of the time, the last 3-4 shows, on the prison camp situation. Because here it is admitting that these emergency centers are for re-education of the American people. I mean, that's like them digging up bodies in your next-door neighbor's backyard. It's a big deal. And again, the story is extremely viral on the web, but I could care less about that just so InfoWars gets a bunch of traffic, and at least it's waking up some people. But we need to punch this out. The reason they don't want this to break, and the reason the system's fighting to keep this from becoming a big news story, and the reason we're going to keep beating the drum to make sure it does break through is because it's going to be a big story. I mean, this is going to wake a lot of people up if we have a national debate about re-education camps and slave labor in Army manuals for U.S. citizens. I know why PSYOPs hit us day one, saying it wasn't real. I understand. Wow, look at this headline. Revealed, U.S. secretly releasing top Taliban insurgents in exchange for peace pledges. That's what they tell them. They really retrain them and send them to other countries like Syria. And again, I think of the general public, how not even ignorant, just how unawake they are. When I hear national news this weekend on XM, I was listening to Fox, CNN, all of it, quite a bit when I was driving. And it was always the same. Assad's bad. The ceasefire isn't doing well. They would imply he'd broken it and then admit that, well, there are government buildings getting blown up. Yeah, that's that bad Assad. Al-Qaeda, on record, real Al-Qaeda, is in there, Western-backed, blowing stuff up to break the ceasefire so the UN can come in and take over the country, just like they did Libya. And it's such a crime that's being committed. Let's go to Dan in Georgia. Got about a minute and a half before we go to break. Go ahead, Dan, Navy. What's your view on all this?
I will not go to a retraining camp. It's just not something I'm going to do. I've made my peace with the Lord, and I will fight when the time comes.
Well, that's because you're a terrorist. I mean, how dare you not want to go to a re-education camp? They're good in North Korea.
Well, the chances of coming out alive in one piece, not very good for me, people like me.
You don't want to be in there with about 100 TSA guys having their way with you? That doesn't sound fun?
No, because I get firsthand